we're certainly grateful that you chose to have this hearing. And I think it's an important hearing. I think it's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, just let me generally say that the state of the hospitality industry, as Senator Alloway mentioned and you alluded to, is certainly in a very difficult position in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania right now. The recession has taken its toll. The last few years have been particularly difficult. We're experiencing declining customer counts across the board, across the state, regardless of the type of establishment. And we're experiencing declining check averages. So the customers that are entering our establishments are coming in with a much tighter pocketbook than they've experienced in the past. As a guy that has 550 wines on my list, I can tell you that the better selections just aren't being chosen anymore. They're sitting on shelves gathering dust. People are looking for a much more value-oriented experience. It puts us in a very difficult position. We aren't in a position to pass along price increases. And that looks like it's going to continue that way for a while. The better restaurants are seeing a lot less traffic. On the other end of it, the mom and pops, and I'm sure Amy will address this as well, are really under the crunch. Whether you're talking about the effect of casino gambling, or the effect of the smoking legislation, the effect of the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the effect of the drink tax in Allegheny County or Philadelphia. There's a myriad of things that are threatening our livelihoods every day. I've operated my restaurant for 25 years in downtown Pittsburgh, as you know, and just undertook a major renovation this summer. That renovation for me is my life. My house was almost paid off. I've got 3 kids in college. I had to take a major loan out. I had to remortgage my home. I've got a lot riding on keeping my doors afloat, but I had to invest in my belief that we can continue to make it go, keep my employees employed. But right now, it's a break-even proposition, and that's why what's happened here is so particularly offensive. This was not transparent, Senator. This was not a move that was done with any cooperation with our industry. I was the first guy that found out about this increase, as far as I know, by meeting with a vendor or two during my renovation period and talking about wine programs in the future. When I heard about this increase, I couldn't believe it. There's no one that's been more tied to liquor legislation over the last 15 years, from John Jones to Jonathan Newman, to the relationship with the current board, to having a knowledge of Senator Logan and Senator Rafferty and yourself, and we were always tuned in when something like this was on the radar. We weren't tuned in. I don't believe that the legislators were tuned in. I think Senator Logan found out about this for the first time through a news reporter that I had told, and he said, I don't know anything about that. Of course, Senator Logan's no longer in the Senate. So this was not on the radar. I don't even believe, and I got here a little late. I was tied up in Harrisburg traffic. I don't know that the Liquor Control Board passed this. I don't believe they did. We had our lobbyists check the minutes for the Liquor Control Board meetings going back. This hasn't been done by the Liquor Control Board. So we've got a situation where Joe Conti, who's running the LCB for the Liquor Control Board, and his group wrote a letter to the vendors and said, we're going to increase this by $9 a case. Now, that $9 a case is before the 18% tax and before the 7% tax in Allegheny County. That's more than $9 a case. It's almost $12 a case. But this wasn't done with the Liquor Control Board. This wasn't, as far as I know, this wasn't an official action in a public meeting. This was somebody writing a memo. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not the kind of state I think we should be living in. I mean, if we can have bureaucratic folks in every department issuing price increases across the board without even their board sanctioning it, much less the legislative oversight that we should certainly expect, I don't know. I mean, that's just not right. We heard yesterday that the board might take official action once they get the prices back from the vendors. Now, how is that the proper way? Please. You know, Joe alluded to no one makes a big fuss when Bacardi goes up 70 cents. you know, the bottom line is, yeah, there are price increases on raw materials that happen, and we're never happy about that. But certainly you should all recognize that every time those raw materials go up, the state's take goes up quite significantly. 30% markup on that 70-cent increase. 18% tax on that 70-cent increase. Please, every time the raw materials go up, the state's take goes up. They have no cause to to come here and be poor-mouthing. There's no way. They're turning over increased revenue every year on the backs of us. Now, if you do the math, a guy like me might use 15,000 units a year. That's at least a $15,000 increase. Some vendors might take it up over the dollar. They might take it to $2. The concept, the fairy tale notion that these vendors are going to eat $12 a case, please. I've talked to a lot of vendors in the last 2 months. I don't know anybody that's going to eat this charge. This is going to raise, some vendors estimate, at least $80 million before the taxes on that $80 million. You're talking about a $100 million grab on the backs of our industry and on the backs of every consumer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But it's particularly hard-hitting for our industry. The average Joe that's buying a half dozen bottles of wine a year at a store and maybe 12 or 15 bottles of Jack Daniels or gin or vodka or whatever, they might not notice it. But the industry that right now is fighting for pennies, we certainly are going to notice it, especially when we can't pass it on because our customers are too price sensitive right now. This is the wrong time to institute this kind of increase. I don't understand it. I don't understand the lack of dialogue. I don't understand the rationale. When the LCB, literally, we are paying the highest taxes and fees on alcoholic products of anyone in the United States. A few years ago, I testified in front of this committee, and I showed a 10-case sample of 10 cases of wine that I bought in Pennsylvania and what I would have paid for the same 10-case order in New Jersey, New York, or Delaware. 47% more expensive in Pennsylvania. Please. It's already outrageous. I do want to tip my hat to the SLO fee reduction on a bottle. I think that was a good move by Senator Conti or Director Conti. But the point is that the issue on SLOs is much larger than the bottle charge. The issue on SLOs is we currently pay a double markup. The vendor, the state's purchasing power doesn't come into play on SLOs. Yet the state and the vendor buys that product, moves that product across the state, stocks it, tastes us on the product, delivers the product to where we pick it up. All the state does is print the invoice. And for that, they take, in addition to the bottle charge, a 30% markup. They have no right to that 30% markup. We need to eliminate the 30% markup on SLOs. That is the bigger issue, not the bottle charge. We appreciate the good faith. But don't let that bone distract you from the real game. The real game is that Jack Daniels and Bacardi and every other product is going to go up at least $1 a bottle to every consumer in the state. This is a $100 million grab done without any legislative oversight. Done maybe not even by the board itself, but in a backroom discussion among some folks that are running the board. That's not transparency. That's not sunshine. That's not the way our government should function.